Honey, there's a kid screaming out there. So? Look at that wheelchair. Some rich family's problem. They've got people for that. But she's just a child. And we're late for dinner. Drive. The sedan pulled away into the storm. Below, a 10-year-old girl clawed at her seatbelt. Muddy water rose past her chest, her shoulders, her chin. Please, somebody! Silence. The jogger had already fled. The woman with the dog never looked back. 4 people saw a disabled child drowning. 4 people walked away. Miles away, a billionaire watched through his phone, security footage streaming live. His daughter, his only child. He couldn't reach her in time. Then a 5th person appeared, a black teenager, soaked hoodie, 17 years old, nothing but a pocket knife. He didn't hesitate, didn't ask who she was. He ran straight into the storm. What happened 5 years later shocked everyone. But before we get to that moment, you need to understand who Darius Ingram really was. Not a saint, not a hero waiting for his moment. Just a 17-year-old black kid trying to survive in a world that didn't make it easy. 5:17 a.m., Macon, Georgia. The alarm hadn't gone off yet. It never needed to. Darius's eyes opened in the darkness. Same time every morning. His body didn't know how to sleep in anymore. The small shotgun house creaked and groaned around him. Paint peeling outside. Roof leaking whenever it rained hard. Floorboards that announced every footstep. But inside? Clean. Organized. Loved. Handmade curtains hung on every window. His grandmother had sewn them herself. Family photos covered the walls. The smell of old coffee and yesterday's cornbread lingered in the air. This was home. Small, worn, but filled with more warmth than mansions could ever hold. Darius moved quietly past his grandmother's bedroom, paused at the door, listened. That cough again, rattling in her chest, getting worse every week. She'd been coughing for 2 months now, but every time he mentioned a doctor, she'd wave her hand. Too expensive, baby, I'm fine. She wasn't fine. They both knew it. But knowing didn't pay medical bills. In the kitchen, Darius opened the refrigerator. The light flickered. Bulb going bad. 1/4 gallon of milk. Leftover collard greens from Sunday. Hot sauce bottle nearly empty. He checked the medicine organizer on the counter. Grandma Ruby's insulin, blood pressure pills, only 4 days worth left. $89 for the insulin alone. He had 52 in his wallet. Always short, always scrambling, always one emergency away from disaster. On the old bookshelf in the corner sat a photograph in a cheap wooden frame. His father, James Ingram, wearing an orange construction worker uniform, grinning wide. Behind him in the photo, slightly out of focus, a building under construction. On the scaffolding, barely visible, the letters PHO on a company sign. The rest was cut off. Darius glanced at this photo but didn't linger. His relationship with his father was complicated. James worked construction in Texas now, called once a month maybe, sent money when he could, which wasn't often enough. They weren't close enough to really know each other, weren't distant enough to pretend the other didn't exist, just somewhere in between. Awkward. Unfinished. Another photograph hung on the kitchen wall. This one, Darius did stop for. His mother. 28 years old in the picture. Beautiful, laughing, holding 5-year-old Darius at a church picnic. She'd died 5 years ago. Cancer that spread too fast, caught too late. Darius touched the edge of the frame. Didn't say anything. He never did. The ritual was enough. On his wrist, a cheap Timex watch, leather band worn thin, crystal scratched from years of use. His mother's only valuable possession. The only thing she'd left him. Still ticking perfectly, like a second heartbeat. "Baby, you up already?" Grandma Ruby shuffled into the kitchen. housecoat and slippers, silver hair messy from sleep, eyes still tired but sharp. "I'll grab something at work, Grandma." "That ain't eating. That's surviving." She pointed at the kitchen chair. "Sit your behind down." Darius knew better than to argue. He sat. She moved slowly to the stove, pulled out the cast-iron skillet that had belonged to her mother, mixed the last of the cornmeal with water and a little lard. "Your daddy called last night," she said without turning around. "After you went to sleep." "He okay? Same as always? Working too hard? Sending what he can?" She paused. "He asked about you." Darius didn't respond. What was there to say? Ruby set a plate of hot cornbread in front of him, watched him eat. "You know," she said softly, "your daddy was just like you when he was young, always helping folks. Couldn't pass by somebody in trouble without stopping." Darius looked up. "Dad? Before you were born, he once pulled a man right out of a burning car, middle of the night. Didn't know the man from Adam. Just saw somebody needed help." "He never told me that." "Your daddy don't like talking about himself. Don't like bragging. Just like you." Darius chewed his cornbread, filed the story away somewhere in his mind. Didn't think much more about it. He should have. 8:48 a.m., Piggly Wiggly supermarket, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, beeping registers, country music playing low through tinny speakers. Darius stood at the bagging station, moving like a machine. Fast, efficient, polite. "Paper or plastic, ma'am?" His co-worker, Derek Collins, same age, same neighborhood, leaned over from the next register. "Yo, Darius, you hear back from the college yet?" "Scholarship application still processing, just waiting." "You'll get it, man. You're the smartest dude in this whole store, probably the whole town." Darius half smiled. "Smart don't pay tuition, Derek." "It should, though. It really should." A middle-aged white woman approached the register, designer handbag, diamond earrings, talking loudly into her phone. She didn't acknowledge Darius, didn't even look at him. He bagged her groceries carefully, eggs on top, bread separate from the cans, just like he was trained. She hung up her phone, glanced at the bags. "You put the eggs on the bottom. Want them all cracked?" The eggs were on top. Darius could see them clearly. "I apologize, ma'am. Let me redo that for you." He repacked everything. Exactly the same way. She grabbed her bags and walked off without another word. Derek muttered something under his breath. Darius just kept working. Let it go. Not worth the energy. Next customer, a young black mother. Couldn't be more than 22, baby on her hip, counting coins on the counter with trembling fingers. Not enough for the formula. Short by almost $5. Her face flushed red with embarrassment. "I'm sorry, I thought I had... I'll just put this back." "Hold on." Darius pulled a 5 from his tip money, laid it on the counter before she could protest. "I got the difference. You don't have to do that. Everybody hits hard times, it's not a big deal." She blinked back tears, thanked him 3 times, held her baby a little tighter as she walked out. Derek shook his head. "You keep doing that, you'll never save enough for anything." "It's $5, Derek. She needed it more than me." "That's what you always say." 2:30 p.m. Henderson residence, wealthy suburb on the edge of town. Big houses, bigger yards. HOA rules posted on every corner. Mrs. Henderson's place, 2-story colonial, 3-car garage, lawn like a golf course. Darius pushed the old mower across the grass, sweat dripping down his face, sun beating down hard. But in the distance, the sky was changing. Dark clouds building on the horizon. Storm coming, misses. Henderson came outside with a glass of lemonade. Kind woman, early 60s, one of his best customers. "Darius, honey, why don't you come inside? Wait out this weather?" "Thank you, ma'am, but I've got 2 more yards after this. Need the money for my grandmother's prescriptions." She pressed a $20 tip into his hand. You work harder than anyone I've ever hired. Don't let anybody tell you you're not going places." "Yes, ma'am. Thank you." As Darius loaded his equipment into his beat-up pickup truck, he looked down the road. At the very end, massive iron gates, security cameras on tall poles, electric fencing glinting in the fading sunlight. A bronze plaque mounted on stone. Whitfield Estate, private property. He'd driven past those gates 100 times, maybe 1,000, never been inside, never even seen who lived there. A different world. Might as well be a different planet. A black SUV with tinted windows rolled out from the gates. Sleek, expensive, silent. On the license plate frame, a silver logo, some kind of bird rising with spread wings. The SUV glided past Darius like he wasn't there. He didn't notice the logo, didn't think twice about it. He would remember it later. 3:49 p.m. Darius drove home. First raindrops hitting the windshield. Radio broken. Had been for months, so he hummed a hymn his grandmother taught him. His mother's Timex showed 3:49. 47 minutes. That's how long he had left of his normal life. He just didn't know it yet. Emma Whitfield hated her golden cage. 10 years old, blonde hair that fell past her shoulders, green eyes that saw too much. She'd been born with mild cerebral palsy. Her legs didn't work right, never had, never would. Her wheelchair was purple, custom built, top of the line. Cost more than most people's cars. Electric motor so smooth it barely made a sound. Her mother had died giving birth to her. Complications. Nothing anyone could do. Her father had spent the last 10 years trying to make up for it, surrounding her with everything money could buy, except freedom. Bodyguards watched her every move. Cameras tracked her through the house, schedules planned every hour of every day. For your safety, they always said. It felt like prison. Her bedroom was bigger than most apartments, expensive toys she never played with, books she'd read 3 times each, a turtle tank in the corner, Professor Shellsworth, her only real friend. Linda Moore, her caretaker, was talking on the phone in the hallway. Voice low but not low enough. "Yes, ma'am. She's in her room. No, nothing unusual today." Emma always listened. She'd learned that adults said the most important things when they thought children weren't paying attention. She looked out her window. The nature trail behind the estate wound through the trees. Miller's Pond was just a quarter-mile down that path. She'd read about the frogs there, seen pictures online, never seen them in person. Today, she decided, that would change. She knew the code to the back gate, had memorized it months ago, just in case. She wrote a note and left it on her pillow. Going to see the frogs, back in 30 minutes. On her wrist, a silver bracelet with a small charm, a phoenix with spread wings. Her father had given it to her on her 8th birthday. "So you always remember," he'd said. "We rise." She never took it off. The trail started easy. Emma felt free, actually free. Wind in her hair, leaves crunching under her wheels. For the first time in months, she smiled, really smiled. Then the rain came. First a drizzle, then harder, then sheets of water falling so thick she could barely see. The dirt path turned to mud, her wheelchair slowed, motors whining, struggling for traction. She should have turned back. She knew that, but she was stubborn, just like her father. She pushed forward. Then the front wheel dropped into a hidden drainage rut. The chair tilted. Emma grabbed at branches, at anything. Too late. The wheelchair flipped sideways and slid into the drainage ditch. 4 feet deep, filling fast with rainwater. She hit the water hard, gasped. Muddy water flooded her mouth. The seatbelt was jammed, buckle bent from the impact. She pulled and twisted, but it wouldn't release. Water rose to her knees, her waist, her chest. "Help! Somebody please help me!" Thunder answered. Nothing else. The ones who walked away. The jogger saw her first. Middle-aged white man, expensive running gear, AirPods in his ears. He heard the screaming over his music, stopped, looked toward the ditch, saw the wheelchair, saw the child, saw the water rising. He hesitated, looked at his pristine running shoes, looked at the rain pouring down. Then he turned and ran, faster than before, in the opposite direction. Emma screamed after him, "Please, wait! Help me!" He didn't look back. The sedan came next. Nice car, well-dressed couple inside. They'd pulled over near the trailhead when they heard something. The wife cracked her window. "Honey, I think someone's screaming out there." "So call 911. She dialed, put it on speaker. "They say it'll be 15 minutes for someone to arrive." The husband looked at the rain, looked at his leather seats, looked at the time. "Then 911 will handle it. Not our problem." "But it sounds like a child, and we're already late for dinner. Drive." They drove away. The woman with the dog came third. Raincoat, umbrella, small terrier on a leash. She heard the screams clearly. Walked close enough to see the ditch, the wheelchair, the girl. Stood there for 5 long seconds, then turned and walked away, pulling her dog behind her, never once looking back. High on a hill, hidden among the trees, a black SUV sat parked. Inside, a security guard in a dark suit watched through binoculars. His phone rang. "Report," Richard Whitfield's voice, barely controlled panic. "Sir, she's trapped in the east drainage ditch. Water's rising fast." "I'm 12 minutes out. Get to her." "Sir, I'm at the north observation point. The terrain... I can't reach her in less than 6 or 7 minutes on foot. I'm not sure I'll make it." "Is anyone else nearby?" The guard scanned the area. 3 people have passed by, sir. A jogger, a car, a woman walking a dog." "And?" The guard's voice dropped. "They all walked away, sir." Silence on the line. Then Richard Whitfield's voice cracking. "My daughter. My little girl." The 5th person. Darius was almost home. His truck sputtered and coughed. Check engine light glowing orange. He'd been ignoring it for weeks. Today it wouldn't be ignored anymore. He pulled over near the trailhead. Popped the hood. Rain immediately soaked through his hoodie. He was checking the engine when he heard it. Faint, almost lost in the thunder. A voice, high-pitched, screaming. He stopped, listened. There it was again. Someone was in trouble. Darius didn't think about his broken truck. Didn't think about being late. Didn't think about anything except that sound. He ran. Through the brush. Through the mud. Through the pouring rain. On the hill, the security guard watched through his binoculars. "Sir, someone's coming." "Who?" "A young man. Black. Maybe 17, 18. He's running toward the ditch." "Is he going to help?" The guard watched Darius slide down the embankment, watched him hit the water. "He jumped in, sir. He's in the water with her." Richard Whitfield's voice was barely a whisper. "Please, God. Please let him save her." The water hit Darius like a wall of ice. Cold shocked his system. Mud sucked at his feet. The current, stronger than he expected, pushed against his legs. He waded forward, eyes locked on the girl. She was young, blonde hair plastered to her face, eyes wild with terror, water lapping at her chin now. She had to tilt her head back to breathe. "Hey!" Darius shouted over the rain. "Look at me! Look at me!" Her eyes found his, still panicking, but she saw him. "What's your name?" Emma." Her voice was thin, shaking. "Emma, I'm Darius. I'm gonna get you out of here, but I need you to stay calm. Can you do that?" She nodded frantically. "Good. Now breathe with me. In." He breathed in slowly. Out. He exhaled. Emma tried to copy him, shaky, Uneven, but trying. That's good. That's real good. Keep breathing just like that. Darius reached the wheelchair, examined the seatbelt. The buckle was completely bent, deformed from the impact when she'd fallen. He pulled at it, twisted. Nothing. The water was rising faster now. Another inch in the last 30 seconds. He didn't have time to be gentle. Darius pulled out his pocket knife. Old wooden handle, blade dulled from years of yard work. But it was all he had. "I'm gonna cut the strap, okay? Don't move." Emma nodded. Emma, tears mixing with rain on her face. He positioned the blade against the seatbelt. Started sawing. The material was tough, medical-grade nylon, designed to keep her secure, designed to never break. Cut, cut, cut. The blade barely made a dent. "Darius?" Emma's voice was thin, terrified. "The water." It was at her lips now. She had to crane her neck up to breathe. I know. Trust me." He adjusted the angle, found a thinner section where the strap met the buckle, put all his weight behind the blade. The knife slipped, sliced his palm open, blood mixed with muddy water. He didn't stop, didn't even slow down. Cut, 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 snap. The strap gave way. Emma immediately started to sink. Her legs didn't work. She couldn't kick, couldn't keep herself afloat. Darius dropped the knife and grabbed her, one arm around her waist, pulled her tight against his chest. I got you! I got you!" She clung to him, fingers digging into his shoulders, heart pounding so hard he could feel it against his own chest. "Don't let go," she whispered. "Please don't let go." "I won't. I promise. I won't." Getting out was the hard part. The banks of the ditch were steep, nearly 5 feet high, slick with mud and rain. Darius tried to climb while holding Emma. His feet slipped. He fell back into the water, tried again, slipped again. "We're not going to make it." Emma's voice was barely audible. "Don't say that." His voice was fierce, almost angry. "Don't you ever say that. We are making it out of here." He scanned the bank, looking for anything. A root, a rock, a handhold. There, about 4 feet up, a thick tree root jutting out from the earth. If he could reach it. "Emma, I need you to hold on to my neck. Wrap your arms around tight as you can. Don't let go no matter what happens." She did as he said. Her small arms locked around his neck. She was lighter than he expected, like holding a bird. Darius positioned himself, planted his feet on the submerged wheelchair, used it as a platform, took a breath, and jumped. His hand reached for the root, fingers scraping bark, slipping, caught. His shoulder screamed, felt like it was tearing out of the socket, every muscle in his arm burning. But he held on. Slowly, agonizingly, he pulled them both upward, one arm gripping the root, one arm holding Emma. His free hand found the edge of the bank, grabbed mud and grass, pulled. His feet found traction, dug in, pushed, and then solid ground. Grass, mud, open sky. Darius collapsed onto his back. Emma still clutched against his chest, both of them gasping, shaking, soaked, but alive. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Rain still fell, thunder still rolled, but it felt distant now, unimportant. Emma started crying, not from fear anymore, from relief, from the overwhelming realization that she wasn't going to die. Darius didn't know what to do. He wasn't good with tears, wasn't good with emotions. But he put his arm around her, let her cry into his shoulder. "You're safe now," he said quietly. "It's over. You're safe." "They left me." Emma's voice was muffled against his hoodie. "I saw them. They looked at me and walked away. All of them." "I know. Why? Why would they do that?" Darius didn't have an answer. He'd been asking himself the same question. I don't know, he said honestly, but I'm here now, and you're okay. That's what matters. Darius looked down at his wrist, his mother's Timex. The crystal was fogged. Water had seeped inside the casing. The second hand had stopped moving. Ruined. He stared at it for a long moment, the only thing his mother had left him. Then he looked at Emma, shivering, scared, but alive. His mother would understand, shouting from the trail. A woman came crashing through the brush. Latino, 40s, professional clothes now soaked and muddy. Behind her, 2 men in black suits, security guards. Emma! The woman, Linda Moore, Emma's caretaker, dropped to her knees, hands running over Emma's arms, legs, face. Oh my God, oh thank God. She looked at Darius, really looked at him for the first time. You saved her. It wasn't a question. She was drowning. I helped. Linda's eyes welled up. Thank you. Thank you. One of the security guards approached Darius, professional, assessing. What's your name? Darius. Darius Ingram. Something flickered across the guard's face. Recognition? Surprise? He spoke quietly into his earpiece. Sir, I have the boy's name. Darius Ingram. Pause. Yes, sir. Ingram. Ingram. Another pause. Longer this time. Then the guard looked at Darius with a completely different expression. Almost like respect. Mr. Whitfield is on his way. Darius didn't know who Mr. Whitfield was, didn't understand why his name seemed to matter. He just sat in the mud, in the rain, holding a little girl's hand, waiting. The black Mercedes arrived like it was breaking the sound barrier. Tires screamed on wet pavement. Door flew open before the car fully stopped. Richard Whitfield, tall, gray at the temples, tailored suit now spotted with rain, ran across the lawn. Actually, ran. Darius had never seen someone in a suit that expensive move that fast. He dropped to his knees in front of Emma, pulled her into his arms. Baby girl, my baby girl. His voice cracked. Are you okay? Are you hurt? I'm okay, Daddy. He saved me. Emma pointed at Darius. He jumped in and saved me. Richard looked up, took in the teenager in front of him, the soaked hoodie, the muddy jeans, the blood still seeping from the cut on his palm, the calm, steady eyes. Richard stood slowly, walked over, extended his hand. Thank you. His voice was thick with emotion. Thank you for saving my daughter. Darius shook his hand. I just did what anybody would do. Richard's expression shifted. Something painful moved behind his eyes. No, you didn't. He paused. 4 people saw my daughter drowning today. 4 people walked away. I watched them on the security cameras. A jogger, a couple in a car, a woman with a dog. His jaw tightened. You were the only one who ran toward her instead of away. Darius didn't know what to say to that. A security guard approached, held out a thick envelope. Mr. Whitfield would like to express his gratitude. There's $5,000 inside. Darius looked at the envelope, then at Emma, then at Richard. I don't need money for helping a kid. The guard blinked. Are you sure? That's a significant amount. I'm sure. Darius's voice was firm but not rude. She was in trouble. I helped. That's all there is to it. Richard was watching closely. Something shifted in his eyes, like a suspicion being confirmed. He nodded at the guard, put the money away, then quietly, almost to himself, just like his father. Darius didn't hear. Emma rolled over in a backup wheelchair. She reached for Darius's hand. You really saved my life. You would have figured something out. No. She shook her head firmly. I saw them walk away. Every single one. You were the only one who came. She studied his face like she was memorizing it. What's your full name? Darius Ingram. Darius Ingram, she repeated slowly, carefully, like the words meant something. She unclasped her silver bracelet, the one with the phoenix charm. I want you to have this. Darius stepped back. I can't take that. Please, my dad gave it to me. It means we rise. You helped me rise today. Literally. She held it out, waiting. Darius hesitated, but the look in her eyes, so serious, so sincere, made it impossible to refuse. He took the bracelet. The phoenix glinted in his palm. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Darius. A security guard drove Darius back to his truck. The rain had finally stopped. Everything was dripping, clean, sparkling in the late afternoon sun. Before Darius got out, the guard handed him a business card, plain white, just a phone number. Mr. Whitfield says if you ever need anything at all, call this number, day or night. Darius took the card, slipped it into his wallet behind the photo of his mother. He wouldn't call. He wasn't looking for charity. That night, Darius sat on his bed in his small room. His mother's Timex watch sat on the nightstand, broken. Water still trapped under the crystal. In his palm, Emma's bracelet, the phoenix charm catching the lamplight. Grandma Ruby appeared in the doorway. You're home late. Everything okay? Yeah, just helped someone today. A kid got stuck in the rain. Ruby studied him with those sharp old eyes, then smiled. Just like your daddy. Just like your mama, too. She kissed his forehead and shuffled back to bed. Darius looked at the bracelet again. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt tired and sore and strangely hollow. He kept thinking about those 4 people, the jogger, the couple, the woman. How could they just walk away? What was wrong with people? He didn't know that at this very moment, a billionaire was making phone calls, pulling files, asking questions, and that everything was about to change. 3 weeks passed. Darius went back to his normal life. School applications, grocery store shifts, weekend lawns. He tried not to think about the girl in the ditch, the mansion, the billionaire. But strange things started happening, things he couldn't explain. Week 3, the scholarship letter. Darius tore open the envelope from Macon Community College. His hands were shaking. Full scholarship approved. He read it twice, 3 times. Something was wrong. He'd applied for partial aid, not full coverage. His grades were good, not perfect. He called the financial aid office. There was an anonymous donor who covered the remaining amount, the woman said. That's all the information I have. Grandma Ruby clapped her hands together. The Lord provides! Darius wasn't so sure it was the Lord. Month 2, Grandma's medication. The pharmacy called. Ruby's insulin had been prepaid. 6 months in advance. Who paid for it? Darius asked. I'm sorry, that information is confidential. Ruby insisted it must be the church helping out. Darius called the church. Pastor Williams had no idea what he was talking about. Month 4. The job offer. A property management company called out of the blue. They wanted Darius to handle landscaping for 5 houses. Long-term contract. Good money. How did you hear about me? He asked. Someone referred you. Said you were reliable. Who? I'm afraid I can't disclose that information. Late one night, Darius sat on his bed, holding Emma's bracelet, staring at the Phoenix logo. It nagged at him. He'd seen it somewhere before. He pulled out his phone. Typed Phoenix Logo Company, Georgia. First result, Phoenix Technologies. His heart beat faster. Clicked through. Read. One of the largest tech companies in the Southeast, valued at $4.2 billion, headquarters in Atlanta. He scrolled to the leadership section. Richard Whitfield, founder and CEO, net worth $3.1 billion. The article included photos. Richard at a charity gala, Richard at a tech conference, Richard at a hospital groundbreaking, and there, in one photo, sitting beside him in a purple wheelchair, Emma. Same blonde hair, same green eyes, same silver bracelet. Darius stared at the screen, then at the bracelet in his hand, then back at the screen. He'd saved a billionaire's daughter. He'd refused $5,000 from one of the richest men in Georgia. And now that man apparently knew his name, his address, his grandmother's prescriptions, and his college applications. He should feel grateful. Instead, he felt watched. Darius put the bracelet in his desk drawer, closed it firmly. He would make his own way. Whatever Richard Whitfield was doing, Darius wanted no part of it. He didn't need a rich man's charity. He didn't know that charity wasn't what Richard had in mind, not even close. 5 years passed. Darius Ingram kept his head down, worked harder than anyone he knew, tried to forget about the girl in the mud, the mansion, the billionaire watching through cameras. He thought that chapter of his life was closed. He thought the story was over. He was wrong. Macon, Georgia, present day. Darius Ingram, 22 years old now. A lot had changed. He'd graduated from community college, business degree, 3.8 GPA, first person in his family to earn a diploma. He'd started his own company, Rise Landscaping, small but growing, 5 employees now. His old co-worker, Derek Collins, was his first hire, now his operations manager. The logo featured a small phoenix with spread wings. He still couldn't remember where the idea came from. Grandma Ruby was healthy. Her diabetes was under control. She'd attended every milestone: graduation, business license approval, first contract signed. Life was finally looking up. Darius sat in his office, a converted garage behind a strip mall. Cheap but functional. Paperwork everywhere. He was on the phone with a property management company, negotiating a new contract. "Yes, sir, we can handle the expansion. 10 more properties by next month." He hung up, allowed himself a small smile. On his desk sat Emma's Phoenix bracelet. He kept it as a paperweight now, a reminder of that day. Next to it, an unopened letter with the Phoenix Technologies logo. He assumed it was junk mail, had been meaning to throw it away for weeks. A car pulled into the parking lot. Not just any car. A black Mercedes S-Class. Tinted windows so dark they were probably illegal. Derek looked up from his computer. "Yo, Darius, either we just landed the biggest client of our lives, or you're in some serious trouble." Darius walked outside. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out. Black suit. Professional bearing. Darius recognized him immediately. The security guard from 5 years ago. Older now. Gray in his hair. But the same sharp eyes. "Mr. Ingram?" "That's me." "Mr. Whitfield would like to see you." Darius felt his stomach tighten. "What about?" "About his daughter. And about the last 5 years." "5 years? I don't understand." The guard smiled slightly. "Mr. Whitfield will explain everything. Will you come?" Darius looked back at his office, at Derek watching through the window, at everything he'd built. Then he thought about the bracelet on his desk, the unopened letter, the anonymous scholarships and mysterious benefactors. "Give me 5 minutes." Whitfield Estate, 1 hour later. Darius had driven past those iron gates 1,000 times. Today, they opened for him. The estate was even larger than he'd imagined. The main house looked like something from a movie. Gardens that probably cost more to maintain than his entire yearly revenue. But Darius wasn't intimidated. He'd pulled himself out of poverty. He'd built a business from nothing. He'd walked through harder doors than this. He was led into a private study, dark wood paneling, leather chairs, walls of books that looked like they'd actually been read. Behind a massive oak desk sat Richard Whitfield, older than 5 years ago. Gray had spread from his temples across most of his hair, lines around his eyes deeper now, but those eyes were still sharp, still assessing, and sitting beside him in a sleek new wheelchair, Emma Whitfield, 15 years old now, taller, more confident. Her face lit up when she saw him. "Darius!" He couldn't help but smile. "Emma, look at you, all grown up. You too. You, and you're not dripping wet this time." They both laughed. The tension in the room eased slightly. Richard stood, extended his hand. Darius shook it. "Thank you for coming, Mr. Ingram." "I'm not sure why I'm here, sir. After all this time." "Because it's time you knew the truth." "The truth about what?" Richard sat back down heavily. His expression shifted, old pain rising to the surface. "The day you saved Emma was the worst day of my life." Darius frowned. "I thought you didn't know until afterward." "I knew everything." Richard's voice was quiet. "Emma likes to sneak out. I knew that. My security team monitors her through cameras." "Then why didn't anyone—" "They spotted her too late. She was already in the water by the time they called me. I was at my office downtown, 12 minutes away by car." Richard paused. His hands, resting on the desk, were trembling slightly. "I watched the whole thing through my phone. Security footage. Live." He looked directly at Darius. "I saw my 10-year-old daughter trapped in that water. I watched it rise past her chest, her shoulders, her chin." Emma reached over and took her father's hand. Richard continued. "I saw 4 people walk past her. 4 adults who could have helped." His voice hardened. "The jogger looked right at her and ran away. The couple in the car decided they didn't want to be late for dinner. The woman with the dog couldn't be bothered to get her shoes muddy. I watched all of it, through a phone screen, while my driver went as fast as he could. And I knew I wasn't going to make it in time." The room was completely silent. "I have $3 billion, Mr. Ingram. I could buy anything, do anything. And in that moment, I was completely, utterly helpless." He took a shaky breath. "Then you appeared, out of nowhere. A stranger, a teenager, running toward my daughter when everyone else ran away. You saved her life, when I couldn't." Darius didn't know what to say. He'd never thought about what it must have been like on the other end of those cameras. "After that day," Richard said, "I had my team find out everything about you. Not to spy, to understand." "Understand what?" "What kind of person runs toward danger instead of away from it?" Richard leaned forward. "And when my security guard reported your name, Darius Ingram, I nearly collapsed." Darius tensed. "Why? What's wrong with my name?" Richard stood, walked to the bookshelf, pulled out an old, weathered photograph. "Because I'd heard that name before, 20 years ago." He placed the photo on the desk. "Take a look." Darius looked at the photograph. Old, faded, edges worn soft from handling. 2 men stood in front of the twisted wreckage of a car, one white, one black, both covered in soot and sweat. The black man wore an orange construction uniform. He was shaking hands with a younger version of Richard Whitfield, handwritten at the bottom in faded ink. "The man who saved my life. James Ingram, 1999. Darius's heart stopped. "That's my father." "Yes." Richard returned to his seat. His voice was softer now. "Older. 1999. I was 32 years old. Phoenix Technologies was barely off the ground. I was working 20-hour days, trying to keep the company alive. He stared at the photo. One night, driving home at 2 in the morning, I lost control of my car, hit a guardrail. The car flipped twice, landed upside down. Gas was leaking everywhere. I was trapped, couldn't move my legs. I was going to burn to death. Emma squeezed her father's hand tighter. Your father was working a night shift at a construction site half a mile away. He heard the crash, ran over, didn't hesitate. Richard's voice cracked slightly. He smashed my window with a chunk of concrete, cut his hands to ribbons getting me out, dragged me 50 feet away just before the car exploded. James Ingram saved my life. Darius couldn't speak. His throat had closed up. I tried to repay him, offered him money, a job at my company, anything he wanted. He refused, said he didn't need payment for doing what was right. Richard looked at Darius intently. Sound familiar? Darius thought about the $5,000 he'd turned down, the same words he'd used. Your father and I exchanged numbers, but he moved away a few months later, followed construction work to Texas. I lost track of him. For 20 years I looked for him. Never found him. Richard leaned forward. Then my security guard called in your name. Darius Ingram. I had my people check the records. Son of James Ingram. Same James Ingram who pulled me from a burning car in 1999. Your father saved my life. 20 years later, his son saved my daughter's life. The silence in the room was absolute. You want to tell me that's a coincidence, Mr. Ingram? Darius slowly shook his head. He didn't believe in coincidences either. Not anymore. I believe in circles, Richard said. In debts that span generations. Your family saved mine twice. I owe more than I can ever repay. There's more, Richard said. Darius braced himself. He wasn't sure how much more he could process. After you saved Emma, I didn't just observe you from a distance. I protected you. Protected me how? Your full scholarship. I funded the portion your aid didn't cover. Anonymously. Darius's eyes widened. Your grandmother's insulin and medication. I've been paying for it. All 5 years. Including that specialist visit 2 years ago when she showed early signs of kidney complications. She never told me about any specialist. She didn't know who was paying. It was arranged through a community health initiative. There was no such initiative. It was me. Richard stood, walked to the window, looked out at the grounds. 3 years ago, a large landscaping company tried to undercut your prices, steal your clients, drive you out of business. Darius remembered that. A brutal few months. He'd nearly lost everything. I bought that company, quietly, through a subsidiary, made them back off. 4 years ago, a contractor tried to trap you into a predatory contract. My lawyers sent you an anonymous email warning you about the hidden clauses. Darius remembered that email too. He'd almost deleted it as spam, but something made him read it. That was you? All of it. Every piece of good luck you couldn't explain. Darius's mind was reeling. Everything he thought he'd built through pure determination. Why? The word came out rougher than he intended. Why do all this without telling me? Richard turned to face him. Because you deserved a fair shot. This world isn't fair, especially not for young black men starting from nothing. I know that. I've seen it. But I had the power to level the playing field just a little, just for one person. You saved my daughter without knowing who she was, without expecting anything. You refused money for doing the right thing. I wanted to see what a person like that could accomplish if given a genuine opportunity. He smiled slightly. You didn't disappoint. Richard returned to his desk, slid a thick folder across to Darius. I didn't bring you here just to tell you stories. I have a business proposition. Darius opened the folder, scanned the first few pages. Phoenix Technologies is launching the Phoenix Foundation, a program to fund and support minority-owned small businesses. $10 million in the first year. Mentorship, resources, real infrastructure. Richard leaned forward. I want you to run it, not as an employee, as co-owner. 15% equity stake. Darius looked up sharply. 15% of 10 million could be worth significantly more if the foundation grows, which I believe it will. He pushed another document forward. Additionally, Rise Landscaping. Phoenix Technologies has 45 properties across Georgia. I want your company as our exclusive landscaping contractor. 5-year contract, $2.5 million guaranteed. Darius's hands were trembling as he held the papers. And one more thing. Richard pulled out a small velvet box, set it on the desk between them. I found your father. James is still in Texas, working construction. I'd like to fly him home. Have him join you. At Rise Landscaping, at the foundation. Wherever you both want. He opened the box. Inside, Darius's mother's Timex watch, completely restored, ticking perfectly. I know you destroyed this saving, Emma. I had the best watchmaker in Georgia restore it. Richard turned the watch over. On the back, freshly engraved, from a grateful father, R.W. Darius stared at the watch, at those words, at everything in front of him. For the first time since his mother's funeral, he cried. Darius thought the story would stay between them. Private, personal. He underestimated Richard Whitfield. Phoenix Foundation Launch Event. Atlanta, 3 weeks later. 500 guests filled the ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton. Business leaders, politicians, tech executives, journalists from every major outlet. Cameras everywhere, lights bright enough to blind. Richard Whitfield took the stage to polite applause. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We're here to announce the Phoenix Foundation, a new initiative to support minority entrepreneurs across the Southeast. He paused. But before we discuss business, I want to tell you a story. A true story. About my family. The massive screen behind him flickered to life. 5 years ago, my daughter almost died. Security footage appeared on screen, Emma's wheelchair tipping into the flooded ditch, the water rising around her. The ballroom went completely silent. She was 10 years old, trapped, drowning, and 4 people walked right past her. New footage, the jogger looking at Emma, then turning and running away, the sedan pulling up, then driving off, the woman with the dog walking past without stopping. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the crowd. Someone gasped. I watched through my phone. Live. Helpless. My daughter was dying and I couldn't reach her. Richard's voice wavered. He steadied himself. Then a 5th person appeared. The screen showed Darius, 17, soaking wet, sprinting into frame, jumping into the ditch, cutting the seatbelt, pulling Emma to safety. This young man was 17 years old. He didn't know who Emma was, didn't know who I was, didn't know he was being recorded. He only knew someone needed help. Richard gestured toward the side of the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Darius Ingram. Darius walked out into the lights, heart pounding, 500 people watching. He'd faced drowning water with more composure than this, but he stood tall, walked to Richard's side. Richard placed a hand on his shoulder. Now let me tell you the part that made me believe in destiny. The old photograph appeared on screen. James Ingram shaking hands with young Richard beside the wrecked car. 20 years before his son saved my daughter, this man, James Ingram, saved my life, pulled me from a burning car when no one else would stop. Father saved father, son saved daughter, 2 generations, 1 family legacy. Audible gasps from the audience, people rising from their seats. And now, Richard said, I'd like to introduce someone else. From the wings, a figure emerged. James Ingram. Gray-haired now, still strong, still wearing the humble clothes of a working man. Darius hadn't known he'd be there. Richard had arranged it in secret. Dad? James's eyes were wet. Son. They embraced on stage. Father and son, reunited. 500 witnesses. Richard stepped forward, shook James's hand. Thank you, Mr. Ingram, for my life, for your son, for showing me that good people still exist. James could barely speak, just nodded, tears streaming. Emma wheeled onto stage, hugged Darius, hugged James. From the audience, Grandma Ruby stood up, also secretly invited, sobbing with pride. The entire ballroom rose, standing ovation, thunderous applause. The aftermath. The video went viral in hours, 50 million views in the first week. Hashtag the Ingram legacy trended nationally for 3 days. Every major network wanted interviews. CNN, Good Morning America, The Today Show. Headlines flooded the internet. Father and son heroes, the Ingram legacy. The fifth person, teen who ran toward danger. Billionaire reunites with family that saved him twice. Macon, Georgia held a ceremony. The mayor presented Darius and James with keys to the city. 3 years later, the results? Phoenix Foundation, 42 businesses funded, 91% still operating, 520 jobs created, Rise Landscaping, 28 employees, 1.8 million annual revenue. 30% of staff were formerly incarcerated or long-term unemployed. Darius on the cover of Forbes 30 Under 30, from mowing lawns to changing lives. James Ingram became operations manager at Rise Landscaping. Every morning, father and son drove to work together. Never thought I'd see this, James said one morning. We built this, Dad. Together. One story stood out. Jerome, 24, just out of prison, couldn't get hired anywhere. Darius's team said he was too risky. Darius said, 5 years ago, everyone wrote me off too. Someone believed in me. He gave Jerome a chance. 3 years later, Jerome's auto shop employed 6 people. Revenue, $320,000 annually. 8 years after the storm, 2 people returned to where it all began. Miller's Pond Trail, completely transformed now. Paved path, accessibility ramps, solar-powered lights, part of the newly opened Whitfield Nature Preserve, free to the public. Darius walked slowly beside Emma's wheelchair. She was 18 now, heading to Stanford in the fall, non-profit management, still in the wheelchair, stronger than ever. They stopped at the spot where the ditch used to be. It had been filled in, replaced with a small memorial garden, benches, flowers, a fountain. In the center, a bronze plaque. For those who run into the storm and never walk away. Emma smiled. Dad wanted to put your name on it. And I said no. You always say no. Darius shrugged. Because it's not about me. It's about the next person who walks by, reads those words, decides to be someone who helps instead of someone who walks away. Emma was quiet for a moment. I got my acceptance letter. Stanford. I heard. Your dad called me 12 times to celebrate. She laughed. He's ridiculous. Then, more serious, I want to come back after I graduate, work with you, at the foundation. Darius raised an eyebrow. You know I'll make you earn it. I know. That's why I want to work for you. That evening, the Ingram house, no longer a run-down shotgun shack. Renovated now. Fresh paint, new roof, garden in the backyard that Darius had planted himself. Family dinner around the big table. Grandma Ruby at the head, still sharp at 77. James across from her, finally home after all those years. Derek and some of the Rise landscaping crew filling out the seats. Laughter, good food, stories told and retold. Home. Later, Darius sat alone on the back porch. In his hands, two objects. His mother's Timex, running perfectly now. The engraving on the back catching the moonlight. From a grateful father, R.W. Emma's Phoenix bracelet. She'd given it to him permanently. "You earned it," she'd said. James stepped outside, sat down beside his son. "What are you thinking about?" Darius looked at the stars. "What if I'd walked away that day, like the others? You never would have." "How do you know?" James put a hand on his shoulder. "Because you're my son, and your mother's son. We didn't teach you with words. We taught you by how we lived." Darius smiled. "Thanks, Dad." "No, son. Thank you for making me proud, for giving me a reason to come home." They sat together in comfortable silence, father and son, finally at peace. Darius looked up at the sky, thought about his mother, whispered, "I stayed soft, Mama. Just like you said. I kept my promise." 4 people saw a child drowning. 4 people walked away. Darius Ingram was the 5th person. He didn't know she was a billionaire's daughter, didn't know cameras were watching, didn't know his own father had saved her father 20 years before. He only knew someone needed help. So he ran into the storm. Today, somewhere out there, someone is waiting for you. Maybe it's just a kind word, a small favor, a moment of your time. Don't be one of the 4 who walks away. Be the 5th person. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories like this. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. We rise together, or we don't rise at all. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been someone's 5th person? Or has a stranger ever been that person for you? Tell me your story in the comments. I read every single one.